Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video of World of Warships. And today, I'm going to be taking a look at top 5 tech tree battleships that you can play in the ranked battle to win the games. If you're really looking forward to some of the battleships that are easily accessible for credits, and if you want to win the games in ranked battle to farm the steel, I think this video will be just for you. Yesterday, I have talked about the top 5 premium battleships only, and those were really good. In fact, so good that I have to separate that from the tech tree ones. I have explained them. If you do want to know those battleships or want to get some explanation that why I have chosen them in the first place, you can definitely check that video out that I have posted yesterday. But today's topic is about the top 5 tech tree battleships, and in this video we can clearly see that our number 5th battleship, that in my personal opinion and thoughts, it would be the Alsace. Now, why Alsace, the French tier 9 tech tree battleship, is gonna be very nice to play in the ranked battles? Now, there are many reasons. I like the Alsace because of the shell count of 12 guns. Okay, you have 12 guns, 380mm only. They don't overmatch a whole lot against even the cruisers. But again, I love the shell volume, even though the dispersion might not be the best for the Alsace. But what makes Alsace really good, and I would definitely prefer it over many other ships, for example, the closest contender to Alsace is going to be Izumo. And I'm telling you, Izumo is going to be a lot much more tankier than, for example, let's say Alsace. But Alsace have the speed, and speed is really important. If you want to reposition again and again, since you'll be kiting back and then pushing forward to fight those battleships or cruisers or maybe some destroyer that might be harassing you by just smoking up, by torping you, I think the Izumo will be having a hard time repositioning, whereas Alsace will have a lot much more better time simply because of the engine boost. You have engine boost, your speed is already very decent at 31.9 knots, and with the engine boost you can get it up to like 34 knots, and with the brisk captain skill that I would highly recommend on Alsace, if you are looking to play that battleship, I think this will increase the speed up to like 36, 37 knots. You can go and check that out, the numbers. But that is the very good thing about the Alsace. It's basically very good, fast French battle cruiser, because the armor is not that really powerful, but the speed is the most important thing that I like about the Alsace. Your survivability is also very much similar to that of, like, I would say Alaska or Kronstadt. Your HP is not that impressive, but your torpedo protection is indeed very impressive at 44%, which I would say is the biggest strength of Alsace. Your torpedo tanking potential is a lot better compared to many other tech tree tier 9 battleships out there for the ranked battles. So that's why I like Alsace. Now, dispersion cannot be the best, at least in this ship, but again, you have a lot of shells. And honestly, if you shoot the salvos, there's going to be some sort of grouping of the shells because of the 12 guns that you are throwing onto a broadside target. You are going to get citadels. The shell velocity is very cool and fast. I really like the shell velocity of the Alsace. That's one of the really good reasons that why I also like Alsace. Your maneuverability, just like I said, the speed is good. Your concealment can go down to like 13-ish kilometers, which I would say is pretty decent compared to Izumo, slightly higher, but it's not too far. But even then, I think this French battleship is gonna be really good for that. I haven't even mentioned that you can have actually more speed, 33.6 knots. I just didn't able to get the propulsion into account if you use the upgrade. And that's the reason why I really like this Alsace. If you looking forward to play this battleship, I would highly recommend it. But there are a lot good other battleships at tier 9 that fits perfectly to this meta. Although the Alsace with the speed can really do a lot better against, for example, the Los Andes, which I will be explaining, trust me, in the later part of the video. But again, Alsace is still not bad at number 5. And even though you might not be able to pen the, I would say, battleships, maybe like Musashi, for example, that premium, absurdly broken battleship at tier 9, like, you cannot do that. But even though, you can always switch to HE and can shoot insane HE volleys with really decent fire chance, which I have to mention. And also the AP, just like I said, is very good with the shell velocity. Your penetration is still very decent, and hence the reason why you should play Alsace for sure in ranked battles. At number 4, I would rate this Tier 9 Tech Tree Battleship, the British Duncan, to be very good in performance if you are looking to play that in the ranked battles. Many reasons that I would rate it slightly over the Alsace. First of all, your caliber is better than Alsace. Your load time is also decent at 29.5 seconds. Your range is also as good as Alsace. You can have pretty decent range at 19.7 kilometer. But the good thing about the Duncan is that just like Alsace has 12 guns, with not having the best of the dispersion, Duncan comes up with, I would say, the same 1.6 sigma but significantly better dispersion ellipse that it gets of a battle cruiser. So Duncan has access to battle cruiser dispersion but having the similar sigma. Now that is a big upgrade over the Alsace. The guns might be higher in count of 12 of them, but then your caliber is higher, and just like I said, your dispersion will be a lot much more tighter since it's going to be smaller dispersion ellipse. And also the best thing about the Duncan is that you also have decent HE alpha with 47% fire chance. So you're getting 9 guns, better dispersion, and then on top of that you will have a significantly higher chance of getting set to those pushing battleships on fire. That is very nice, and that's the reason why I like Duncan. Now there are a couple of more things that I would say makes Duncan pretty good. Your speed is on average almost the same as the Alsace. If you are looking to check the maneuverability comparison in comparison to the Alsace itself, your speed can go as good as Alsace. 33.6 versus Alsace is having slightly better, and then you have an engine boost, and your concealment is also a lot better than that of Alsace, and that's one of the things that kind of makes Duncan a lot much more better. To make things a lot much more spicier, the Duncan have access to torpedoes. Torpedo that does 29k damage. I think it's probably having the highest torpedo alpha in the entire game. Now that really makes the Duncan a lot much more powerful at close ranges if there are no other battleships like German ones that have access to torpedoes. So against non-torpedo battleships, you will be superior at close ranges. You have 10 kilometer range. You can even send the torpedo to a cruiser that is in smoke, and you will have a lot of value from Duncan. Okay, the guns have overmatching performance against cruisers. You can even easily able to overmatch 27mm plating because 419mm guns, and then you can always switch to HE to pen the battleships and set fires. And also it has short fuse AP, so that means that no more over penetration that you get onto the broadside cruiser. You're going to have consistent damage with citadels on those lightly armored cruisers, and I think that's one of the big advantage that Duncan has with this short fuse AP compared to, I would say, the Alsace. Now Alsace has slightly better shell velocity, but then the shells are so flat compared to Duncan a bit, at least just a bit, and well, you are going to get certainly some more overpens and the chance will be higher, and Duncan will not going to have this problem. And then just like I said, your torpedoes are good, your dispersion is good, your maneuverability is very much on par in terms of speed. Maybe your armor is not gonna be that good, the armor can be citadeled, you do have a citadel. Look at that citadel. Now Alsace does have a protected citadel, which I haven't mentioned, but Duncan is certainly not bad. If you're angled enough, if you're playing it as a skillful battleship player, I think this shouldn't be a big of a problem. And also, I forget to mention that it has specialized repair teams, which means that you have a super heal that lasts for 20 seconds that can heal significant part of HP. If I can just use the healing flag, you can have a very high potential of healing back all the fires and floods, 100% fires and floods. You will be sort of immune to that, and then you can just heal up quite some pen damage, where you cannot do that on Alsace. Alsace does not have that good healing potential. You also have defensive fire, but that kinda does not matter if you are playing it at tier 9 matchmaking only in the ranked battles. So because of this very decent battle cruiser dispersion, long ranges, medium ranges, and even close ranges with the torpedoes certainly makes Duncan a very superior choice. Maybe you can always argue that the torpedo protection is not that good as compared to Alsace, but I would still say it is very good. So at tier 9, Duncan is very, very strong performing battleship at number 4. Now at number 3, at least in my personal opinion, I would rate Delaware to be very strong in the ranked battle department at tier 9 specifically. Many reasons for that. Now the closest contender of Delaware that I can do is with the Kearsarge. The Kearsarge is very close in comparison to the Delaware. It's a premium battleship. It has 12 guns, but well, Delaware has 8 guns. 9 guns you typically find on Iowa class battleship. Well, it's not kind of like Iowa class battleship because it does have sort of a tumor in between the superstructure, which I will explain. But what makes Delaware really good is in fact that it is a lot much more protected. That superstructure is a lot much more protected compared to the Kearsarge. Again, I have to make a comparison. Look at the Kearsarge superstructure. That is gigantic. Whereas in the case of Delaware, that is relatively small. If not smaller, it is still good and you are highly resistant to take off, or at least take a lot of HE shells because of the 38mm sights, which I would say makes Delaware very, very good choice if you are bow tanking. For example, compared to the Iowa, right? Iowa does have a lot of superstructure, right? So while bow tanking, the Delaware has a significant advantage. At least I can easily say compared to Kearsarge and also the Iowa. Why? You have 6 guns, your caliber is 406mm, and you're not losing anything whatsoever. Like if you are in Iowa and you are in bowing in position, all you will lose is going to be 2 turrets. In the case of Iowa, you will only lose 3 turrets. So I think Delaware is going to be significantly better in bow tanking, especially that you have this deck armor that can just easily shatter out all the cruiser shells. And then, just like I said, this superstructure is relatively smaller compared to Kearsarge, and I would say very much well protected against HE spam. So that's why Delaware is going to be superior in bow tanking. I like Delaware just for that. But also, the biggest reason why I would say Delaware is going to be pretty much, I would say, insane is, first of all, there is no carriers at tier 9. And then you are taking out a battleship that can be a carrier for some time and can spot the ships for himself and for your teammates. That is a big, I would say the biggest advantage that you can get ever for a battleship in World of Warships. Not only that you have access to HE bombs that, I mean, if you just simply able to go spot the destroyer and drop it, you can just do somewhat maybe 2k to like 6 to 8k damage sometimes if you are lucky enough. That would be a death sentence to that destroyer because of the spotting first that no other battleship can do except Delaware. It's like a aerial radar. It's not like that you just push the radar button and your utility, or I would say your consumable, is utilized. It's like you have the air or aerial spotting radar thingy that if no destroyer has the ability to smoke up, these HE bombers will be super devastating. And that's the biggest advantage. Like the round or oval shaped reticle that HE bombers have really gonna be making it a lot easier for even the beginner of the battleship carrier player, whatever you call it, or hybrid player, just making it a lot easier to land these bombs onto the destroyer, cruiser, and even battleship. And recently they also have buffed the HE armor penetration capacity to 53mm. It used to be 42. So now you can even pen the German battleships because typically they have 50mm armor on the deck, or maybe the Italian battleships, which is very, very good. So Delaware is not losing out anything. In fact, you have 8 guns compared to the Iowa 9 guns. You have again the same overmatching capabilities like Iowa, same dispersion, same sigma, 1.9 sigma, and you're just not losing a whole lot. And HP is also slightly better than, I would say, Iowa. If I look at the comparison, it has slightly better HP than Iowa. So you're not missing out on anything. Like your range is also pretty decent. And even if you want to improve it, you can always use the artillery plotting room mod 1, improving it up to 24 kilometers. So that is insanely powerful. Iowa class guns, just 8 of them instead of 9, so it's just losing a single turret, like a single turret. And meanwhile, you're also going to get this CV power on a battleship, and then you can spot for yourself is just what makes it extremely strong. Now, if you do not like the hybrid, like the Kearsarge or maybe the Delaware, you can easily swap it with Duncan. Like Duncan can easily go to number 3, and I can easily rate Delaware at number 4. But I would say this spotting is so huge that you cannot even get it on even the number 1 battleship that I will discuss. It is so strong. Maybe you can personally able to dictate Delaware to be at number 1. That is totally up to you. I feel Delaware to be very, very good at number 3 because of the amazing gun performance and the carrier ability while having HE bombs, which just completely dumpster DDs. It just simply makes it too good. And the speed is also not bad. So it's not like Vermont or something like that. You have maximum speed of 33 knots. And I haven't even put the flag. And if you use the brisk, I mean, things are gonna go pretty insane, right? So you can just have a 37 knots of speed on a Delaware. So you're gonna be pretty fast. Not fast like Alsace, but you are gonna be pretty close. Without the speed boost, you should be just slightly having lower speed, top speed. So you can already see why I would rate Delaware to be very, very good at number 3. At least for me, the secondary focused battleships, I would say compared to the ships that I have mentioned earlier, will be superior. Like for example, in the case of this German Tier 9 battlecruiser Prinz Rupprecht, I think it's a very, very strong battleship that you can play right now in ranked. Certainly better than maybe Duncan. Certainly better than Delaware. I mean, this is my personal opinion. I think that Prinz Rupprecht as a secondary focused battleship is going to be amazing at Tier 9. Many reasons. You are sort of having a mid-tier. You are not going to be bottom tier, nor you are going to get top tier. So Prinz Rupprecht power level is such that even at mid-tiers, you're going to be performing just fine. Your HP is also very decent at 63,000. It could be slightly better, but I would say it's still good, considering it has so many good firepower with secondaries and also the main guns, which I will explain. Now, the thing about the Prinz Rupprecht is that it has a short cooldown fast damage control team, which you find on Russian battleships. But you're getting this on these German battlecruiser line as well. You have these heals, they just get the cooldown 40 seconds, which is faster than any other except the Russian battleships out there. Really makes it good against tanking fires and floods. That I really like. Unless you're just gonna get completely focused hard by maybe HE spamming cruiser, I think Prinz Rupprecht will do just fine. You have heals, although just like onto the cruisers, you have one less heal. I mean, typically battleships get 4 heals, it get 3 heals. But again, you have a Hydro, which is an insanely high value thing for a battleship. Not like the, I would say, Delaware, but certainly Delaware cannot spot torpedoes with CV capabilities. You can spot torpedoes for yourself and can spot ships at least under 5.5 kilometer. Prinz Rupprecht guns are also very nice at 406mm. The overmatching capabilities are pretty much similar that you find on Delaware or also on the other battleship like Duncan that I've mentioned before, and it also have access to battlecruiser dispersion and 1.7 sigma. Now that is slightly better than the Duncan 9 guns. I mean, Rupprecht has 8 guns, but again, 1.7 sigma battlecruiser dispersion versus 1.6 is definitely better in my opinion. So your accuracy or the tighter grouping of the shells will be slightly superior on this battleship, and this is having a very, very good secondaries. They are so good, insanely good reload time. You have the pen of 150mm caliber guns that can just simply pen 38mm, which can easily, by the way, pen those poor Delawares and Iowa side and deck armors, which I was saying that it is relatively tanky. But in the case of Rupprecht secondaries that already have improved HE pen, gonna make those battleships' life really hard once you are within the 12 kilometer of, you know those battleships, if they get into their secondary range, it's gonna be a devastation and a ton of secondary shells that it's not gonna be easy for them to mitigate a whole lot of damage. They don't have this insanely, insane ability to just heal back so much, unlike Georgia maybe, or some of the other battleships like, for example, the Los Angeles that also have improved heal, which I will explain later, because that is what we have at number 1, but you have to wait for that. So the guns, the consistency, very good. You have hydro, just like I said. Your maneuverability again is pretty decent. You have 34, or I think 33.6 knots again. So if you really want to use the brisk, you can increase the speed to like 36 knots easily, which is, I would say, very impressive for this secondary battleship. That will be a lot much more powerful than Duncan, because the torpedoes. You have 16 torpedoes, 8 on each side. Now that will definitely gonna counter hard the Duncan, because if the Duncan missed that single torpedo, Rupprecht has 8 torpedoes, even though they are very slow at 50 knots, but the damage is 16.5k. And then you're throwing 8 torpedoes that also have, for some reason, very impressive 12-kilometer range. So they can be useful. You just send onto the area where the battleships might be pushing, and you just get some hits, which is kind of funny. And at close ranges, they will just gonna be certainly give you a guaranteed damage, because you will certainly not going to miss, or you will not have a chance of missing those torpedoes against those battleships, which I would say is very nice. Your concealment is also pretty decent with 15.1 kilometer base, so you can have under 13 kilometers concealment, if I'm not wrong. So with the very good maneuverability, not so good armor. In fact, you are going to get Citadel, unlike many other German battleships in the game. So something that I should mention, that yeah, angling is very important in Prinz Rupprecht, and also the bow is kind of like that of, I would say, cruisers. For example, if I take a look at Tulsa, you also have 27mm bow over the stern. So that's where Prinz Rupprecht gonna be having some issues. Now, the deck armor is also not like the Frederick de Grosse, its counterpart tier 9 German battleship. So that's where the armor is not like insanely good, but the sides are pretty good. These sides will take a lot of AP pen, because it's too thickly armored, but again, if you are fully angled, then they also will help to bounce the shells. So I think Prinz Rupprecht, with this insane secondary, I mean, you can also improve these secondaries, 105mm HE armor pen to like 32mm if you use IFHE. But I think that because of the amount of shells that you are throwing very, very quickly with this very good reload time, I think you just simply don't use it and get a lot of fires. That's my personal opinion. I used to do that with IFHE, but I find out that the fires will just kill battleships faster than getting HE pen onto those battleships. And especially 32mm armor pen, if you improve it with the IFHE, certainly cannot do a whole lot against some of the deck armors of Russians if they hit randomly there, or maybe I would say the German battleships. So even then, if you want to set fires, totally up to you. If you want to just use IFHE, totally up to you. I find the guns to be very reliable, very good, because of, again, battlecruiser dispersion, and that's the reason why I love Prinz Rupprecht for at least medium to close ranges, not at long ranges, even though the gun performance is really, really good for a secondary focused battleship, and I would rate it highly for ranked battles at number 2. At number 1, I don't think so it should be a surprise for some of you guys that Los Andes is gonna be just too good for the ranked battles. I mean, this secondary focused battleship is just kinda bonkers. Accordingly, in this insane meta that we have with these insane secondaries that have 59mm HE pen and 21% fire chance with 3.8k alpha and 12 guns that does have 1.7 sigma, which is not too bad compared to, let's say, Pommern 12 guns with having similar caliber but again 1.5 sigma. It's just kind of weird. Like, I love to see Pommern to be there for the premiums, but the only reason that Los Andes is superior, at least compared to many reasons, at least for comparison against the Pommern, the thing about the Los Andes is your gun's accuracy is just too good. And even then, your secondaries are too powerful. They are so powerful that they will just gonna ruin a battleship's life if they just pushed into the Los Andes secondaries for too long. The secondaries having decent range at 12 kilometers, just like on all the typical battleships, like for example the Germans, or at least in also the Pan-American battleships. And then you also have pretty decent HP and also have improved healing potential, like your Citadel damage is only 10% repaired, but your pen damage is better than any other battleship at 65%. Like, you can just heal back 65% of the pen damage compared to, let's say, Duncan's 60%, or maybe compared to the Prinz Rupprecht's 50%. So you can just heal back so much pen damage. It's insane. And your speed is pretty insane. Not the speed, but at least your maneuverability is pretty insane. Your acceleration is 13 seconds. So you're able to pick the full speed from 0 to full in 13 seconds. In comparison, the Rupprecht will get the full speed from 0 to 38.4 seconds, which is insane. You are having the speed picking in Los Angeles almost 2.5 times better compared to the Prinz Rupprecht. Like, what is this? Your maneuverability is also very good. Like, your turning circle is good, just like on the heavy cruisers, and your rudder shift is not too bad. And then on top of that, your speed is also 31.5 knots. And then you can just improve it even further if you have a unique or special commander, Joachim Marquis Lisboa, which increases the 5% speed, and also improve the F key, which kind of is also something which is extremely powerful. Like, your secondary battery range can be improved, your reload time can be improved, and the damage can be improved for 30 seconds. And it is very easy to load out, simply because just you have to tank the potential damage, which you will do on Pommern, which you will do on many other battleships like Prinz Rupprecht, but you're not going to get the F key. And also, you are not going to get this amount of salvo that you can throw onto a broadside cruiser or battleship. I would say, I would love to see 12 guns. Why? Because you have a good chance in dealing at least 1 or 2 citadels compared to like only having 8 guns. And even though their dispersion is not going to be insane, but at least what makes 12 guns good is that the good chance you will have, even though the RNG is going to be too much, for both of the cases, like for the 8 guns and the 12 guns, I would still going to be rate 12 guns higher, and you will have a more chance of getting some citadels rather than getting maybe 1 citadel, for example, in the case of Prinz Rupprecht, even though it does have access to battle cruiser dispersion and also 1.7 Sigma. Even then, Los Angeles with battleship dispersion is not going to disappoint you. The pen is pretty decent, slightly worse AP pen than, for example, 406's Prinz Rupprecht. And also the speed, just like I said, pretty good. The consumer is pretty good. Your range can be improved with F key. Your secondaries are just kind of insane. You have a Goliath level of secondaries at tier 9. Like what is this? 234 millimeter secondary batteries that you're getting, and you have so many of them strapped on each side. So you have a cruiser on top of the battleship hull in terms of the gun performance of secondaries. That is insane. 21% fire chance. I don't think so. This is something really balanced. It does not have really bad armor either. Like in the case of Prinz Rupprecht, it's not too bad, but then you're not going to get 20. At least you're not having 32mm bow armor on the Prinz Rupprecht, so it's very vulnerable to the battleship AP volleys. But in the case of Los Angeles, I think the only battleship that can counter pretty hard this bow is gonna be Musashi. And how many Musashis that you will be finding in ranked battles? Well, there's a chance, but not a whole lot compared to, like, for example, 457s or maybe 430 or 406, whatever. Those will have more chance than Musashi. And then this armor is amazing. Your superstructure is there, but look at the side armor. 51, 51, 51. Cruisers HE will shatter, and then you also have 32 at the back, which means it's going to be immune sort of to getting overmatched unless there's going to be Musashi, just like I said before. So Los Angeles is going to be superior. Honestly, if anyone pushes into the Los Angeles, consider himself to not survive for too long because of the fires, and also the HE pen will just kill any ship in seconds. In seconds. And I'm not even joking. You can just go and try out Los Angeles. It's just going to make any life of the battleship, cruiser, destroyer pretty hard if they are spotted for a long time, unless they have a smoke to farm you back. And then you also have the heals, just like I said, improved heal on like cooldown. It's not like 40 seconds like you find on Georgia, but it's not too bad, like 80 seconds or maybe 100 seconds like in the case of Duncan. Duncan has 100 seconds of cooldown time. It's sort of making it balanced, but Duncan is also very good battleship. But not like Los Angeles. Los Angeles is superior, and hence I would say the highest, or I would say the most recommended battleship to play at number 1 for the ranked battle this season at tier 9. So I think I would end the video here. I don't think so there are going to be very good honorable mentions. Maybe I can just mention the Izumo. Izumo also is very tanky for a battleship, and also have 2.0 Sigma for these very good AP volleys that you can throw onto broadsides. The penetration is bonkers, the shell velocity is bonkers. Izumo could be an easy choice, maybe at number 5, but again against number 4 to number 1 it will struggle heavily, and that's the reason why take a bit of a caution because of the speed that it has. It has slow speed, and I don't like the battleship nowadays that have very slow speed, because it's going to be very difficult to just get out of the secondaries of, for example, the Los Andes if you are open water for too long. And hence the reason why I think Izumo is going to be suffering quite a bit against those Los Andes that are coming towards you. This armor is not going to be doing anything because the Los Andes secondaries will just simply pen them because of 59mm pen. So hence the reason why Izumo could be a bit weird. Any other battleship could be in a huge trouble as well, because the armor profile is going to be not tanky enough, and their secondaries will simply pen you and set fires as well with 21% fire chance. So I would say I would end the video here. If you do find this video very decent in terms of the accuracy and the description that I have mentioned about these battleships, or do you like these top 5 battleship lists, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts, maybe for your favorite battleship that you should play or you want to play in this ranked battles at tier 9. Please let me know. Until then, I will catch you guys later in the next video. Peace out.